he did it. The madman said it. Donald Trump has said it. Trump has announced he will fire tens of thousands of civil servants and gut the government to sort his agenda if he runs and wins in 2024. Okay, I'm voting for Trump. It's done. That's all I needed to hear, Mr. President. You tell me you're going to fire everyone, and I say, okay, where do I vote? When do I vote? Tell me where to be. All right, hold on a minute. Hold on. As much as that is exactly what I want to hear, we are still an eternity away from 2024, and Trump could, I don't know, run over a bag of puppies or something ridiculous, and I'd be like, okay, maybe I don't want to vote for the guy. Based on this alone, and Trump's track record, though, yeah, I'm very much wanting to vote for him now, and I'll tell you why. Ron DeSantis, in my opinion, better leader. I know the Trump diehards, they say, Tim, you are wrong. We need Trump and all that stuff. I'm like, look, man, I really do like Donald Trump. I think there's bad things about him. I don't like his character, a lack of decorum. But as I often say, those things are not so important to the bigger picture. And that's kind of why, I don't know, I am where I am. Look, Trump supporters don't care that Trump calls somebody horse face. They think it's funny, actually, and they like it. Me, I think the horse face thing is funny if you're going to be an entertainer. I don't know if it's a good thing if you're the president of the United States. But I also don't care all that much if you call someone horse face in the long run. Sure, I'd like a president that's going to inspire young people and inspire this nation to be proud and honorable. And I really prefer a president with military experience. Sounds like Ron DeSantis. I mean, he's done a phenomenal job in Florida with protecting the economy, with growing the economy, with fighting culture war issues. Don't know how he'd be on domestic policy, but I think if you were to take them as their character, Ron DeSantis, 100%. But I think part of that is why Ron DeSantis probably would not purge the deep state, the bureaucratic state, the administrative state, whatever you want to call it. Donald Trump came out right now and said exactly what I wanted to hear. Because I've been going on Timcast IRL, our nightly show, for those that don't know, and I've been saying, look, I like DeSantis better, but Donald Trump is more likely to purge the corrupt crony establishment, to gut the establishment, to get rid of the bureaucratic state, and we desperately, desperately need someone to clean house. Well, I think DeSantis would be better. I don't know if he'd do it. So when Trump comes out and says he'd fire tens of thousands of civil servants, I'm like, yeah, okay. So now we've got the mainstream media coming out talking about Trump's 2025 radical plan, or how he plans to reimpose Schedule F. I love how they talk about Schedule F as if it's like Order 66 from the Emperor. Like Donald Trump goes, execute Schedule F. And then like the feds go, you're fired, and just start firing everybody. And they're like, no, we're all being fired. Yes, Trump, please do this. Please. There's a lot going on. Questions about who will be the VP. Maybe it'll be Ron DeSantis. Now, the other night, Marjorie Taylor Greene said the president and the vice president can't be from the same state. I believe she was incorrect. I didn't know that. And so I fact-checked it today, and it seems that's actually not true. Now, far be it from me to be a legal expert. Maybe it is, but I believe it's not. Donald Trump recently went to New Jersey. So he's not in Florida anymore. And if he declares his residence as New Jersey, well, then should be particularly interesting either way. I really do think there's a strong possibility of a Vice President DeSantis. Because as much as many people are saying that DeSantis wouldn't want to do it, he wants to run. Yeah. DeSantis will run. Donald Trump and DeSantis will be on the debate stage. Trump will win. And then he'll walk over to DeSantis, shake his hand and say, let's do this. Because who else is going to be? Pence? No way. Trump, DeSantis, 2024, it's going to be revolutionary. And when Donald Trump gets in, I hope he sticks to this plan. Because I'm going to tell you, my friends, Trump promised to drain the swamp. And that's why many people voted for him. Did he? No. Well, some say he didn't drain it of the swamp monsters. He did drain the swamp, exposing the swamp monsters. And fair point. Fair point. In his first term, he drained the swamp waters, but not the swamp monsters. Unfortunately, he actually brought some swamp monsters in, like Bolton. Okay. Well, I'll tell you this. If my pick is between Biden, Harris, Buttigieg, Newsom, and Trump. And if it's between Trump and DeSantis, I got to say, I would rather bet on the guy who's saying it's time to fire the bureaucratic state. Let's talk about the story. Let's read it. Before we get started, my friends, head over to timcast.com, become a member, support our work, and you can get access to uncensored Timcast IRL shows. We had a really interesting conversation with Marjorie Taylor Greene yesterday about what Republicans plan to do when they take power in November, or I should say, truly in January. But what are they going to do as it pertains to the 2020 election with their views on it? I'm not saying you have to agree with them on their views. What actions will they take? Marjorie told us some really interesting stories. Check it out at timcast.com, and also check out our latest show, Tales from the Inverted World, hour-long audio-visual storytelling experience about the search for the lost Confederate gold. Our investigative reporter, Shane Cashman, someone threatened his life. Go to timcast.com, sign up today, and support our journalists and our shows and our hard work. And don't forget to smash that like button, subscribe to this channel, share the show with your friends. Without further ado, here's the big news. Oh, man, I'm just going to, when I saw this story, Trump would fire tens of thousands of civil servants, I just imagined the Elmo emoji with the fires raging behind it. Rah, Donald Trump with glowing eyes. You're fired. You're fired. We hope for it. I don't know if it's a guarantee because Trump can say a lot of things, but this is Trump whispering sweet nothings into my ear. It doesn't mean he's being honest. The Daily Mail reports Donald Trump has plans to purge the so-called deep state beyond what any president has done before if he runs for and wins the presidency in 2024, and as many as 50,000 government workers could find themselves on the chopping block. Woohoo. Oh, I want to shout out Michael Malice. I'm curious as to your thoughts. I have to imagine that the anarchists are all laughing and cheering. The real ones, at least. Come on. Antifa should be screaming and cheering for this. Yes, Mr. President, please fire 50,000 government employees. Yeah, but they're not going to because they're saying now, like, Trump's going to fire the employees to install his loyalists. Shut up. He's not going to be able to hire 50,000 people. He's going to fire 50,000 people and then try to hire who he can. Whatever. It's a good start. The former president, if elected again, would move in with a plan being drawn up now to drain the swamp and cut tens of thousands of civil servants from what are typically apolitical roles, according to Axios. BS. They're not apolitical. Almost all of them are Democrats. He would clean house of mid-level staffers of the Pentagon, Justice Department, State Department, and beyond, and bring in thoroughly vetted candidates who are found to be more closely aligned with his America First agenda. After interviews with over a dozen Trump world insiders, the outlet's investigation found that Trump is planning to use an executive order called Schedule F, which he issued in October 2020, and Biden later rescinded. The order would reclassify tens of thousands of civil servants who were deemed to have some influence over policy as Schedule F employees, which would strip them of their employment protections. Yes, let's jump over to Axios. I just want Donald Trump. I'm imagining it more of him being like, execute Schedule F. When in reality, he's going to be like, execute Schedule F, please. Get it done. Fire everybody. Sources close to former President Trump say he would immediately reimpose Schedule F if he takes back the White House in the 2024 presidential election, Jonathan Swan reports. Why it matters? It would effectively upend the modern civil service and put future presidents in the position of bringing in their own loyalists or reverting to a traditional bureaucracy, Swan reports. Oh, they're so freaking out. Trump, man, I don't know if it's true. I don't know if he'll actually do it, but I would love to see it. Drain the swamp. Didn't happen. Well, again, I'll stress, the waters may have been drained, but the monsters are still there. Get it done, Trump. I think Trump learned his lesson. That's the issue. A lot of people said, he should have fired Bolton. He should have pardoned Assange. He should have pardoned Ross Ulbricht. He should have done a whole bunch of things he didn't do. And I'm like, he probably didn't do it because he was thinking light touch, term 1, heavy hand, term 2. In your first term, you want to get a little bit done. But if you want to maximize your effectiveness, you don't just take one term and go nuclear. You do a little bit in term 1 and then you go nuclear in term 2. They say, presidents typically replace about 4,000 political appointees to align agencies with their new agenda. But below them are a mass of federal workers who have strong employment protections and typically continue in their role from one administration to the next. The Trump official who came up with the Schedule F order said it could apply to as many as 50,000 of the some 2 million federal workers. Other Trump allies say the figure will not be nearly that high because firing a smaller segment of anti-Trump bad apples would be enough to trigger behavioral change. Very interesting. Doing so could strip mid-level government staffers of any sense of job stability and set a new precedent, forcing future new presidents to seek out and install their own loyalists through the bureaucracy. And what's wrong with that? Who elected these people for indefinite positions? Fire them. Russ Vought, the former head of Trump's Office of Management and Budget, is reportedly working on plans to make the security clearance process less onerous so that more government workers could be made political appointees. We are consciously bringing on the toughest and most courageous fighters with the know-how and credibility to crush the deep state, Vought told Axios. While Trump and many of his former top aides and allies are no longer on speaking terms, the former president is relying on a close cadre of still trusted former advisors who are working with conservative organizations to line up talent. It's also thought that for top jobs, Trump will bring in only those who most actively supported his 2020 election fraud claims. Jeffrey Clark, a controversial lawyer who advocated for a plan to contest the election results and now finds himself in the crosshairs of the January 6th committee and the FBI, is thought to be in line for attorney general. Oh, man, just vote Trump 2024, baby. Policy, whatever. Trump tells me he's going to fire everybody. That's all I need to hear. Sources close to the former president said that Rick Grenell has a decent shot at a Secretary of State nomination. As acting director of national intelligence, Grenell was one of Trump's favorite officials toward the end, as he worked to declassify material from the Trump-Russia investigation. Grenell, who now works on Newsmax, said on the network, I'm not going to stop until we prosecute Trump's former FBI director, Jim Comey. Oh, man, it's just so much fun. Kash Patel. What's up, Kash? Glad to see you on Timcast IRL. Would love to have you back on to talk about this. The chief of staff to acting Defense Secretary Christopher Miller, at the time of the attack on the Capitol, would likely be in line for a top national security job at the White House if he could make it through a Senate confirmation. He could even be appointed CIA or FBI director, according to Trump allies. I would love to see Kash Patel as FBI director. Please restore some accountability to these institutions. Kash, FBI director. That's what I want to see. CIA, fine, whatever. I don't know a whole lot about it. We've had Kash on the show before. I've talked to the guy. He's a good dude. I don't know a whole lot about everything. Luke really wanted to call him out on Julian Assange stuff. I get it. We did an event in New York and I went off on the Assange stuff. My belief is that Donald Trump wanted Assange here because he wants evidence of what we're seeing with the Democratic Party and the Russiagate investigation. And he knows Julian Assange knows something. But Julian Assange is under no obligation nor the jurisdiction of the U.S. for these matters. And I don't like that Trump did that. Now, I'm not going to sit here and pretend Trump administration was perfect in every respect. Absolutely not. They upped drone strikes. I understand the argument as to why they did it. They wanted to pull troops out and replace it with some kind of deterrent. I don't know what else you'd do. Fine. I'm not a fan, but maybe they're not wrong. I don't know. The point is, you take the devil you know, right? With Donald Trump, I tell you, I went off yesterday with Marjorie Taylor Greene. I could tell she appreciated it because this one gets me really heated. They said that Donald Trump was ponying up to dictators. He crossed the DMZ into North Korea with no security detail. Ponying up to dictators. He had no security, and he walked into what is officially enemy territory. It's a sign of good faith. It's one of the bravest things I've ever seen a president do. How dare they? Look, Donald Trump has his problems, but I want to stress that to all of you. Share that with all of your liberal friends when they're like, he's trying to be friends with a dictator. Good. The DMZ is dangerous. You see these videos of North Korean troops trying to drag South Korean troops across the border, people being shot trying to flee North Korea. Trump willfully and without security walked into that country because he wanted peace. Good for him. I dig it. I've had my concerns about the FBI, the news I read. Let's see Kash Patel take that position. Patel was a key author behind former Rep. Devin Nunes' memo accusing the Department of Justice and FBI of abusing surveillance laws in a politically motivated effort to take down Trump. Former Trump officials still in his orbit who are working on developing personnel policy and legal plans for potential future presidency include Vought, former Chief of Staff Mark Meadows, Former advisor Stephen Miller, Ed Corrigan, Wesley Denton, Brooke Rollins, James Shirk, Andrew Closter, and Troop Hemingway. Others who remain close and could be in contention for another White House role include Dan Scavino, John McEntee, Rick Grenell, Kash Patel, Robert O'Brien, David Bernhardt, John Ratcliffe, Peter Navarro, and Pam Bondi. Also had Peter Navarro on the show. It's remarkable when you can sit down with people like Patel and Navarro and they tell you straight up, like, here's what we're doing without a beat. Here's what happened. Here's what they did. Here's why they did it. Here's what we want to do. We had Marjorie Taylor Greene on the show yesterday. I am such a big fan. Marjorie, you are amazing. Now, I certainly think, Marjorie, I think you've posted some silly things on Facebook, but I don't know what I'm supposed to say about it. You know, they talk about her Jewish space laser thing. She made a post about PG&E and space energy transmission technology and whether or not it could be used to start fires or something like that. And I'm like, okay. It's the I'm just asking questions thing. What am I supposed to say about it? Am I supposed to care? This is insane that they pull up old garbage. It's meaningless. You know what Marjorie Taylor Greene did do when she came on the show? She just speaked openly and candidly and fearlessly. And I was just like, I love it. I love it. Sorry. Don't care. I love it. I certainly think she can have a bit more tact when it comes to Twitter because we talked about her tweets about Dr. Rachel Levine for sure. But you know what I like and why people like Trump? Marjorie Taylor Greene was talking about the conflict in this country and said sometimes she thinks a national divorce is the right way to go. You know, we want to avoid a war. And I was just like, whoa, you're a politician. You're in Congress and you just come out and say that. I'm not saying she's wrong. I'm saying I respect that she's fearless in giving her opinion on that matter without a beat, without missing a beat. I've talked to so many politicians. We've had politicians on the show and you'll ask them about the national divorce thing is big and they'll say, well, you know, the national divorce issue is a pressing issue. I mean, a lot of people are talking about it. And we've heard a lot from people who are angry about what's happening in this country. And so when you hear about national divorce, you've got to understand that people are concerned here. People, they're worried about what it means. And so I think it's an issue we should definitely discuss. And I'm like, what? You didn't say anything. Are you for it? Are you against it? Are you concerned? What's your answer? And they give you politician answers. Marjorie just comes on the show and she's like, here's what I think of him. Here's what I think of him. And I'm like, well, that's refreshing, isn't it? At least you know if you disagree with her or not. This is what I like about, you know, Peter Navarro, Kash Patel. They come on the show. They're just straight up like, here's the thing. Here's the thing. Now, hold down there a minute. Nobody gets freebies. I certainly think there were a few questions where Kash was like, I don't know if I can answer that question. Some things are classified. But I think they're trying to be honest. They legitimately feel the way they do. I don't see these people as just trying to exploit things for personal gain. I think there's a righteous indignation, a frustration, and legitimate values behind what they're doing. Not every single one of them, and not all the time. I'm saying it's the rule, not the exception. When I see Democrats, it's the exception, not the rule. They tend to be, many of these people, lying, like AOC pretending to be handcuffed. Just for gain, for power, I'm not into that, man. There are people who are willing to sit down and talk with me. And I'm willing to say things. We had Matt Foldy on the show. He just won his primary in Maryland. And I said, will you vote to impeach Biden? And he was like, I don't know if we should do that. And I was like, I think it's a bad idea. We don't need Republicans going in there and doing nothing. We need accountability for Biden. They're willing to come and sit down in front of me when I'll say that to them. I respect it. I do. Very few Democrats, if any, would come. Human events. Chris Barron writes, Trump 2024 crushed the establishment. Elmo emoji. Fire. Yes. I'll read a little bit of what he says in his op-ed because his title hits the nail on the head with the hammer. Since the end of Trump's first term, I have wondered, at first to myself and then to a smaller circle of colleagues in confidence, whether or not Trump should run in 2024. I firmly believe that had the election of 2020 been played under the rules of 2016, Trump would be heading towards the midterms on a second term. That's a good point. I mean, rules were changed, right? Voting rules, mail-in voting, how COVID affected things. I agree with that. I think universal mail-in voting, it put Joe Biden, it made it so ridiculously easy for Democrats to campaign. They were able to, let's just say, very easily get the votes from people who normally probably wouldn't care. Every single one of the changes made to how we vote, how we protect or don't protect against voter fraud, every single one of those changes was made to aid Biden. I don't know if every single one was. Republicans thought that with their change in the voting rules in Pennsylvania, they have this thing in Pennsylvania, I guess, where you can just be like, I vote Democrat, and then Democrats get everybody. Republicans thought, okay, we'll do universal mail-in voting, but you don't get the down ballot vote anymore. They thought then people might be like Republican, Democrat, Democrat, Republican, and they would make some gains. Turned out, well, it may have actually worked a little bit in their favor, but for the most part, no. It just really helped Democrats, but I do think they were trying to help themselves. So he goes on, talks about 2016, Trump winning the nomination. In short, he won the nomination and the presidency, promising to crush the GOP establishment that had gotten rich, fat, and happy at the expense of the American working class. And this is what we're seeing. We are seeing the Republican Party has become more racially diverse and more working class. The Democratic Party has become wealthier and whiter. Donald Trump really did speak to a new coalition. Chris says, I don't care if a Trump presidential run motivates the left. I don't care if it turns off soccer moms. What is the point of electing a Republican if that Republican returns us to the bad old days of the pre-Trump GOP? President Trump is our only hope to permanently crush the GOP establishment. Nothing is more important. I can see it now. Democratic establishment probably sitting in their chairs, seething. Tim Pool made a video praising Trump again. Oh, they want to include me in their garbage January 6th nonsense. Oh, come on. I can say it all day, every day. The riots on January 6th were horrible, and those people should be prosecuted. People should not have gone to the Capitol. They should have gone to the ellipse and heard Trump speak peacefully. The people who got violent, they were bad people. Yeah, I don't care for any of that stuff. Violence doesn't work. We need Trump to win. So people showing up on January 6th did not help Trump. It's only hindered him. The people who went to the Capitol and fought with cops helped Democrats, period. I want Trump to get elected, walk in, loosen his collar a little bit. You're fired, you're fired, you're fired, you're fired, you're fired. I want him to write you know that meme where he's signing the bill and then he holds it up? I want him to do that, you're fired, and then holds it up and shows everybody, and then everyone leaves the room. Not his administration, obviously. The point is, fire everyone. Predicted says, who will win the 2024 Republican presidential nomination? Ron DeSantis at 35 cents. I was more leaning towards DeSantis before today. Donald Trump, 44 cents. Trump's supposedly going to announce soon that he's running. He said, he's made his decision. The point is what the idea now is before the midterms or after. I think Trump is going to announce relatively soon. So on our side, we're like hitting up the Trump people like we need to get Trump on Timcast IRL ASAP. I mean, I think it's a reach, but I would absolutely love to have Trump announce on IRL that he was running for president, because at this point, I've heard enough. Trump, it's come out that you're going to fire everybody. You got my vote. Now, that may change because we're still a couple years out, but based on that alone, I will vote for this man again. I said it the other day. Based on what Trump did in 2020, I'd go back in time and vote for him in 2016. When I saw Trump running, I thought, look, he's a bad attitude, character defect, whatever you want to say. And I just don't believe he's going to do any of this stuff. Republican, saying all these nice things. Then Trump gets in and he's like, I'm going to keep my promises. I'm going to do what I said I'm going to do. It matters to me. And I thought to myself, you know what? I dig it. There were problems. There were mistakes. I get it. Trump's not perfect. He's got ego, for sure. But the economy was doing well. And the foreign policy, man. You want me to say it again? Abraham Accords. Commercial flights flying from, to Israel from over Islamic countries. Wow. It's amazing. Commerce opening up between Israel and some of these countries. Incredible. Peace coming to the Middle East. You just love to see it, man. You do. North Korea. Crossing into that DMZ. I was nearly in tears seeing what Donald Trump was willing to do in the name of peace. And to hell with everybody who tried to spit on Trump over what he did that day. I refuse to accept the insults on Donald Trump over that day. I got no problem saying, come on, Trump, do you really got to say horse face? Be presidential. But you come to me and tell me that Donald Trump was ponying up or trying to, kiss the ass of a dictator by walking into the, North Korea. And I'm like, shut your mouth. Donald Trump, one of the most courageous things, himself with no security, crossing the DMZ, the demilitarized zone, into North Korea. The war never stopped. It's an armistice. And Trump said, let me walk without protection into enemy territory in a sign of good faith. And that's a standing ovation. I'm welling up. I want to see the Korean Peninsula reunited in some way. I want to see people free to travel, free to live. Now, I don't believe Kim Jong-un would do that. I believe the North Korean regime is sickening. But that's all the more credit to Donald Trump, that Kim Jong-un is despotic. And he's got no reason to change his ways. So Trump was just risking everything. I hope people really understand that. You know, I think the reason I saw it that way is because, you know, people often talk about their family histories. And for a lot of people, it really is easy to look back at your European history. You know, for white people in this country, it's like my family came from Germany. They came on the boat in this year. And, you know, my family's from Italy and we went back to the old country. I know people, it's like my grandma lives in France and I went and visited her and my mom moved here. Then I was born in America. For me, my family came from all over, you know, Britain, Ireland, Germany, and Korea. And my family's, the Korean side of my family, I can't go to the towns of my, you know, recent family, my great-grandparents, my grandparents. I can't, of my grandparents, I should say yes, right. I should clarify. My great-grandparents, because one of those cities is in the north. It wasn't North Korea back then. It was one Korea. So seeing what Donald Trump, man, it felt like it was almost deeply personal, something that mattered to me. But that was leadership and that was bravery. Now I'll start to Ron DeSantis again, because as much as I can be critical of a lot of what Trump does, and I think it's fair, I always want to stand and defend what he did in North Korea because, you know, the other day, Jamie Kilstein, he's like liberal, progressive guy, but less woke now that he's kind of woken up to what the woke really is. And he was like, no one's ever explained it to me that way. That's what Trump did. They always just said he was trying to pony up to dictators, but no one's ever actually said it that way. And I'm like, yeah, they could have just killed him. And then what? What, are we really going to go to war? They could have done whatever they wanted to the man. Ron DeSantis, he's leadership, my friends. He is leadership. What he's done in Florida, he's proven so much. With the economy, with the culture war issues, with the parental rights and education. He's got military leadership. I heard some people say that he was a SEAL. I don't know if he was a SEAL. I know he was JAG, so he's got military and legal experience. That's what I like to hear. And he's in his 40s. He's younger. Maybe what we really need is not for Trump and DeSantis to be head-to-head. It's for it to be a Trump-DeSantis ticket. Everybody then goes, don't take DeSantis from us. Florida needs him. Yeah, but DeSantis can endorse someone else. And think about it this way. If DeSantis becomes Trump's VP and he endorses another person in Florida, and then that person is as good as DeSantis, we get two DeSantis. DeSantis? Whatever. You get the point. Trump-DeSantis ticket would be phenomenal. You'd get the PR tact and savvy of Ron DeSantis. And let's not forget, Ron DeSantis' wife is also particularly savvy too, and the power behind DeSantis in many ways. And you will get the fierceness of Trump, the foreign policy of Trump. I love the culture war leadership on DeSantis. Trump needs someone who's younger, who can explain to him a lot of what DeSantis did and why it worked. That's why I think that is a ticket right there, my friends. Trump DeSantis. Then after 2028, you get DeSantis for 8 more years. Let's take it, baby. Now, look, it depends on what happens culturally. The woke, I think, are destroying the Democrats. And so they're paving a pathway for Republicans just to sweep and take over. It's that simple. Ron DeSantis and Trump have a clear path because wokeness freaks people out. And right now, what really matters to people is not Steve Bannon. Steve Bannon, let's see, as we got updates here. 3 new updates. Has he been convicted yet? There we go. As I'm recording this, Steve Bannon's found guilty of contempt for defying January 6th committee subpoena. We knew that was going to happen because the D.C. jury. I think it's wrong. But do the American people care? No, they don't. Literally, they don't. They care about gas prices. They post videos where they're screaming, why is it $100 to fill up my tank? I can't get to work. Man, it's crazy. Imagine working, getting paid $400-500 a week, and you got to fill up twice a week, $200 right there. You get $400-500, you got to pay taxes, you got $100 left over. How do you pay rent? Crazy. All right, let's be real. Let's say 500 take home because no one's getting paid $10 an hour for the most part. Let's say you're getting $20, $800. You take home $6. You spend $200 in gas. You got $400 left, and you're just like, I got no money for anything, man. How do you pay your health insurance? We got to do something about this. We got to change this. So this news broke literally 2 minutes ago as I'm recording this. They say a federal jury found him. They reached a verdict. They found him guilty. We'll see what that really means. A federal jury found former Trump advisor Bannon guilty of contempt of Congress. Bannon didn't even bring any witnesses in. I think they knew it was going to be case closed. So what's the strategy here for Bannon? I don't know. But I think in the end, and I got to tell you, the Democrats have started arresting former administration officials. Here we go. This is what they're doing. Contempt of Congress. I think we need to get rid of the speech and debate clause. I think members of Congress should be held accountable. And this is insane. The power that Congress has. Contempt of Congress for defying subpoenas. It should be a civil lawsuit to force you to comply. Not jail time, not criminal. Now, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm naive. Maybe I don't know enough about law. But I'll wrap with this. This is why exactly why Donald Trump needs to get in and fire everybody. And not just him. We got to get Congress. Get the incumbents out. Bring in some real people like Marjorie Taylor Greene, a real person. Oh, they hate her so much. Now, I can mention, I got criticisms of her. I mention it. Policy-wise, I don't think I agree with everything she says. But she's fairly moderate. She's not even far right like they call her. She's like fairly moderate. She talks about what people want to do in the privacy of their own homes. I'm like, that's like a liberal position. But because she wants accountability, she speaks her mind, they smear her. We'll see where this Bannon story goes. But I'll tell you one thing. It ain't going to be helping Democrats win in November. We'll see in 2024 about Trump. Maybe my position will change. We'll see what he has to offer. Next segment's coming up at 8 p.m. over at youtube.com/TimCastIRL. Thanks for hanging out, and I'll see you all then.